What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebrous Infinite, and today I'm going to show you 3 ultimate stealth builds for Far Cry 6. The skill building system in Far Cry 6 continues to be one of my favorite aspects of the game. With its Rubik's Cube mix and match vibe, there are hundreds of different combinations you can come up with. And when you throw in what weapons you choose and how you deck out your Supremos, the combinations are borderline infinite. So today, I'm going to show you 3 builds for stealth I've come up with so far that are my go-to builds when I need to change up the pace. An ultimate gadget build that has borderline infinite ammo, a maximum stealth build designed for when things need that full incognito feel, and lastly, a damage build that might be one of the strongest damage builds possible in the game. So let's jump into the first build, which is one of my favorite builds to use lately, an infinite ammo gadget build. Gadgets are some of the stealthiest weapons in Far Cry 6. You can straight up throwing knife a dude 6 feet away from another guy and he won't know a thing. So this build is focused on using gadgets as your primary and possibly only weapons. This is a really nice kind of unique build as it frees up your hands if you ever get tired of seeing your gun waving around in front of you, and it also gets you to work more methodically as you play through the game, which really benefits stealth gameplay as a whole. This build uses auto-locking throwables for quick headshots and more precise use of your gadgets, a headshot bonus to make sure that you get those kills, and the most essential piece, feedback loop, to restock your gadgets with each kill, giving you not only infinite throwing weapons, but also infinite healing syringes and whatever other gadgets you might choose in your loadout. This build relies on 3 essential pieces of clothing. First off, the revolutionary beret for your headshot bonus to increase that headshot damage that you're doing with your gadgets. Next up, the synth pop bomber, which is part of the chromatic bundle for the feedback loop ability, which will restock your gadgets with each gadget kill. And then lastly, the dark tech gloves with gadget sniper to ensure those headshots, which then feeds back to the revolutionary beret, boosting its damage, and then ultimately giving you infinite ammo from the synth pop bomber. The nice thing about this build is what you wear on your feet and your legs doesn't really matter, so you can kind of switch things up as you see fit based on your situation, either wearing clothing to benefit your stealth or wearing clothing to benefit your movement speed. This build gets very powerful when you start to think about how powerful gadgets are and having an infinite supply of them. With an infinite supply of healing syringes, you can heal off any damage you need to. With an infinite amount of proximity explosives, you can blow up any vehicle that's on the ground or within throwing distance. Not quite arm's reach. And as well, with the throwing weapons, they are very, very powerful and very stealthy. So the synergy of this entire build is just incredibly overpowered for a stealth build. Now, next up, for the build that's maybe a little bit less interesting than the other 2, but is a very essential type of stealth build, the incognito approach to making a stealth build here in Far Cry 6. Now, the whole idea of this is slowing down enemy detection, and some of the earliest forms we saw of that were with the Assassin's Creed bundle as well as the Dark Tech set. Now, we also have a further option of using the F&D Beret as another method of slowing down detection speed without really affecting the soldier's suspicion level. So with this build, what we do is we combine the disguise skill alongside the chameleon skill to allow us to get a little bit closer to soldiers in order to utilize Eternal Dance from the Triador set just a little bit better. Then, alongside that, we utilize the tactical slacks and also the dark tech boots in combination to have incredibly reduced movement noise all the while being able to get closer to the enemies without affecting their suspicion levels. This build is actually super beneficial for stealth play, especially if you find that a lot of times you kind of tip off the soldiers and then they come exploring the location that you're at. Having two sets of Disguise and Chameleon on, two things to slow down the soldier's suspicion level, allows you to get away with things that you just would not be able to get away with without these two pieces of clothing on. Now, I put some pretty serious testing into this to figure out what this Disguise and Chameleon ability was actually doing, and it doesn't seem like it, but it does actually slow down the detection meter just by a very small amount. But then on top of that, the major thing that it does is it means that it takes more of that detection meter for the guard to go, hey, what's going on over there? And to come over and actually explore a location. So you can get away with things that you just wouldn't be able to get away with normally. That, with the combination of how stealthy you actually move with the tactical slacks equipped and the dark tech boots while you're crouched, it just equals an incredibly stealthy build, as you can see here. Just to show a solid example here, you can see that it takes the bar filling up about 2/3 of the way with two sets of disguises to make the guard go, hey, what's that over there? Whereas it only takes like maybe 1/10 of the awareness meter for the guard to come after you without the two disguises. So for our last build of the day, there's a bit of a backstory to this one. Earlier this month, I found myself a little bit disappointed that I was getting shoehorned into the meta of Far Cry 6, using some sort of a sniper rifle alongside some sort of a high-power shotgun, either the KSG or the, oh man, all I'm thinking is computer, but the semi-auto one with the tube, the SKS and the SSGP. So I tried to make a damage dealing build that opened up all of the guns in the game, and I managed to do exactly that. This damage dealing build is hands down one of the gnarliest damage dealing builds that you can make in this game, and as long as you slap a suppressor on a weapon, it immediately becomes viable for fighting against all the way up to the max level enemies in the game. So to really quickly go through our build here, we have 3 necessary pieces just like the Gadget build, but also just like the Gadget build, you can put whatever you would like on your pants and for your boots. So what we have as the necessary pieces are the Revolutionary Beret for the headshot damage bonus, the Adventurer's Vest, that way whenever we're aiming down sights we get a damage bonus, and then the Posh Gloves, which gives us a damage bonus for silenced and suppressed weapons. So, as you can see here, we have 3 damage stacking potentials that all come together to just make a really gnarly damage dealing build. And then on top of that, you could put either movement options or stealth options or even defensive options for your pants and for your feet. One of the big things that I really wanted to do was to make the ARC usable. When you put in armor-piercing rounds, a lot of times a headshot will kill an enemy, but there are those occasions where the RPG mechanic of Far Cry 6 kicks in, and a headshot doesn't take down an enemy. So with this build, with 3 damage stacks and the headshot bonus, you're able to take down pretty much every single enemy in the game with just a bullet to the brain. Now you might be thinking, how is this a stealth build? And this is a stealth build based on the function of they can't spot you if they're dead. Basically, it just uses the maximum damage potential alongside the fact that it all focuses around having a suppressor on your weapon to be a pretty badass stealth build. One of the best ways you can tell the maximum amount of damage that you're able to deal is by going off and fighting against some elite tanks or some Petrov Bs at least. This is a really good show of just how much damage you're able to dish out in a small amount of time against an enemy that could potentially take you down in like 1 or 2 shots. And with this build, as you can see, you could take down tanks in no time at all. There are vehicle damage dealing specific builds that you can make in the game, but I'm sure you dudes get what I mean when I'm saying that vehicles just have the biggest amount of health, and that is the easiest like demonstration of how much damage you're doing. The other thing too is a lot of times vehicles will actually resist the ammo type you're using, which just kind of further proves the amount of damage you're able to dish out with this build. Again though, probably one of the nicest things about this build is that it fully opens up your arsenal to any level or any stage of the game. You could bring these weapons off to special operations for mastery levels, even though the PG-240X is kind of the real difficult part there. But still, it's really nice that it kind of overcomes some of the RPG elements in the base game of Far Cry 6. So there we go, 3 ultimate stealth builds, an infinite gadget build, ninja knifing and feedback looping all your gadgets infinitely, a maximum incognito build, keeping you low profile to get away with stuff that would be tough to borderline impossible to do normally. And lastly, what might be the strongest damage build possible so far in the game, opening up all weapons, provided you can fit a suppressor on them, and literally destroying everything in your path, from soldiers to tanks and helicopters, all while being as stealthy as possible. But this is far from all of the stealth builds possible in Far Cry 6. Take for instance my archery build from a few weeks back. So I want to know, what kind of builds are you rocking in Far Cry 6? Do you plan on using any of the builds from this video? Let me know in the comments down below. But for now, thank you for watching, stay awesome, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.